This is a seminar presentation on UU114 English for Academic Purpose on the theme formal versus informal education. Okay, Bulvinaka everyone, my name is Lucy Lemba. I'm currently enrolled for the unit UU114 on this summer. I am a primary school teacher by profession and been teaching for the past 7 years. I welcome you all to this seminar presentation on the topic formal versus informal education, and do hope that listeners would really benefit from this presentation. And I also urge us listeners, please do take notes and ask questions. Formal education simply concerns the four walls of the classroom where children's thoughts and ideas are somewhat similar and all target towards getting the best education possible, and knowledge is delivered to learners by well-educated scholars, whose sole responsibility is to teach. This form of education is well structured and organized in such a way that teaching and learning take place easily. Informal education is a general term for education that can occur outside of the structure curriculum. Informal education, therefore, is not well structured as compared to formal education. Informal learned from such education system is derived from experience. Learning can occur from sightseeing, adventures, visiting the museum or library, watching scenes, visiting old work sites, old city sites, underwater scenes, etc. No matter what the two systems means to us, they have the same target, and that is to educate the naked mind and fill it with knowledge of this world. Okay, now let us look closer at the informal and formal education. Um, this concept of informal education and its real entails. The informal learning has no guidelines, curriculum, or standards, while lessons like teaching your child how to brush their teeth have some acceptable standards. There is no right or wrong way to go about teaching your child which part of their teeth to brush first. And because there is no curriculum, no standardized test, it is difficult to quantify or to put into test how well our learners understand. It's either they understand or they don't. Informal education looks to create or deepen situation where people can learn, explore, and enhance experience and make changes, or it bridges the gap between theory and practical. For formal education, everything that a learner absorbs comes from the book or other resources. People who provide such education are well trained and qualified to do so. It may be the education system that is preferred by its generation, but it is not the only alternative that people to make their own choices as which they prefer. A lot of education system today in Fiji use formal education. Our ECE, right up to tertiary level, it is a well-organized system of qualified teachers. One of the important of formal education is that it prepares students to a more structured lifestyle which enhance their view on certain issue and more profound understanding of the world around them. It paves a way forward for many students wanting to excel in the field of their choice. But formal education does not only concern studying and passing. It also involves following strict schedule and routines which assist students to complete their study within the given time. It teaches students to get targets, goals, and to work towards working towards achieving these goals. Okay, let me take us to the advantages and disadvantages of formal and informal education. Formal education has its disadvantages as well. Far from equalizing opportunities, education can be a powerful driver of social selection. When return to education increase over time, this may lead to greater intergeneration persistence of poverty and less equality of opportunity. Other disadvantages of formal education is in the same room where teaching and learning takes place. Good and bad students, slow and gifted students are made to sit and learn from the teacher. The need to motivate students, but most students fail to get motivated despite it being given to them. The main advantages of informal education is that it gives students a chance to explore. In these systems, students are inspired to learn everything and anything. It does not actually require a teacher, and a student can learn whatever they want and at whatever rate they desire. As compared to more boring style of formal education, informal education is more active and creative in its style of lesson delivery. It does not require prerequisites as compared to a formal education and has no restriction to whoever wishes to learn. No one forces anyone to learn, so students learn at the pace which is applicable to them. Informal education also has its disadvantages. This form of learning is usually not recognized with degrees, diplomas, or certificates. There is no proper schedule or time span. There is no discipline amongst the students, hence, there is no care attitude which can more or less affect their studies. Informal education is favored by many because a bulk of our population are not really academic oriented, so they rather prefer being educated for life skills such as farming, sewing, cooking, baking, building, painting, etc. These skills enable less educated people to be efficient and become empowered to find employment and to support their families. While the other bulk of population feels that attaining a degree as informal education is a better option, it usually comes with a price. It seems in many students' loan schemes that are going on today rather, whereby loans are easily provided to assist students in paying for their tuition. Student fails to realize the burden of having to pay this lump sum of money where they find employment. So to conclude, choice lies on the student as which method of education fits their profile. In whatever context we may be, or in what system of education we choose to be involved in, we must be aware of what Nelson Mandela, a great leader, once said, and I quote, education is a most powerful weapon which can use to change the world, unquote. Yes, it is truly a powerful weapon because it can determine your decision for the future and the future of your country in whatever field you will choose to be in. Is there any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Can you just please take us back to the three ideals of informal education that you have just mentioned earlier?
Vinakan. Informal education has no proper guidelines or curriculum, like I have mentioned before. Learning can take place just by watching a movie, for example, teaching a boy on how to comb his hair, etc. There is no right or wrong way to go about this learning or teaching.
Yes, I have a last question. What could be your famous phrase which you can use just to sum up the whole presentation on formal versus informal education?
Thank you. The best phrase that I can use to sum up this presentation is Education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. Vinaka, is there any other question? Vinaka, I think there is no more question. Um, I believe this brings us to the end of this seminar presentation today. Vinaka Vakalevu.